With the New York Times reporting that Colin Powell is going to vote for Joe Biden and the polls showing a strong shift towards Biden, the focus of the 2020 presidential election is getting acute on who Joe Biden will pick as vice president. Now, in this video, we're going to talk about the front runner for vice president and why we should care about the Democratic pick for vice president. Candidate Biden has stated he will pick a woman for his running mate. Now, there are several really good ones to choose from for the Democrats. Senator Elizabeth Warren, Atlanta Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms, Representative Val Demings of Florida, and Senator Tammy Baldwin from Wisconsin are some of the picks. But the front runner appears to be Senator Kamala Harris from California. Now, given Biden's age and potential health issues, Senator Harris is going to be closely watched for her positions on a wide range of issues. I bet I know what a lot of you are thinking. If Harris is Biden's VP pick, then she leaves her Senate seat. Won't that hurt the Democrats' chance of taking the Senate and taking the majority in the Senate? And so why would he pick her? Well, it just so happens that Harris is from the state of California. And in California, the governor appoints the next senator to replace her. And of course, Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, is a Democrat. So it's going to stay as a Democrat seat, either if Harris's vice presidential pick or not. So there you go. Now, here are the key takeaways for Harris's vice president. Number one, Harris's economic policies stand in sharp contrast to Republican corporate and individual tax cuts, along with the regulatory reform policies under the Trump administration. No surprise there. Number two, under Harris, there will be major restructuring of significant portions of the U.S. economy, like energy and healthcare, if elected. As well, Harris has significant changes to housing and rent relief in her proposals. And finally, number three, for the economic impact, we expect a short-term, dramatic negative impact on companies and relevant sector values if all of her policies were enacted. That won't happen, but it's important to note. On this point, Harris' proposals reach deep into corporate structure and to regulate changes like equal pay. So those are the big three. Now, not all is roses for her, as she's been really criticized for her treatment of minorities as a prosecutor. But that background frames her policy approaches from addressing home ownership to dealing with the high cost of prescription drugs with fines to going after rule breakers and creating new regulations and rules and laws. Okay, her policies are aimed at assisting disadvantaged communities and increasing access to and reducing the cost of healthcare and protecting the environment. These are all good things. While addressing social problems, her policies are kind of difficult to assess on the economy and job creation beyond the negative impact of raising taxes and imposing fees to pay for those policies, because they're very expensive. Now, on the economic positive side, Harris addresses this lack of capital available to Black entrepreneurs via her programs under the Opportunity Gap section. Now, it's only $12 billion in a $20 trillion economy, but the concepts are really good and will aid businesses in need of funding. And the success of these businesses can further support vulnerable Black communities, and that would be great. Now, she has incentives for creating a business that will also help those with Pell Grants and student debt, though this is a really tiny category of people, so it's a small impact. Also, her EITC expansion plan and her investment in STEM research will ease poverty and increase minority participation in the sciences, and that would be great. Now, on trade, Harris wants to reduce tension with China and end the tariffs. Now, this could have the most significant impact and positive impact of all her proposals and lead to faster economic and job growth and creation. Now, this is also aligned with Vice President Joe Biden on trade. Something not aligned with Biden is Harris supports Medicare for all that would significantly change a large section of the U.S. economy. As well, she supports the Green New Deal, or GND, and would create similar change and lead to a high level of uncertainty for businesses during the transition period when that would be enacted to when it actually happens. It's extraordinarily expensive as well, and it's tough to see how you raise taxes to generate the money during a likely slow recovery. Okay, like Trump, though, Harris would utilize executive orders to enact policy proposals that would really only stand the test of time until the next election. And this is a major issue of parliamentary rule styling that really could be disruptive for businesses trying to make capital decisions due to the lack of uncertainty or the lack of certainty. As an example, why would a pharmaceutical company engage in new drug research if they're going to be subject to HHS price changes? Under the climate equity plan, right, why would a company consider fracking or putting any plant near a low-income population if it would be subject to fines by the Office of Climate and Environmental Justice and Accountability? Yes, of course, this would improve the environment for that community and could lead to higher participation in the local economy, but at the trade-off of job losses in the same community. Now, while many of the fracking-related jobs are transient, there is still a positive economic impact from the activity for service jobs and road construction and taxes for the community. But these, in turn, are also transient and leave when the workers leave, and that's when the community's got to deal with the environmental issues that remain. All right, more broadly, fracking and horizontal drilling have dramatically increased the supply of oil and natural gas for the United States and helped reduce prices for energy, for gasoline, and heating a home. In turn, this disproportionately assists low and middle income groups who spend more of their incomes on transportation and home energy. G&D and CEP may produce a trend towards other kinds of energy production filling this void, as they would not be subject to the same regulatory issues under the plan. But in saying that, some of these restrictive policies could potentially run counter to the changes in the Opportunity Zone program Harris wants to enact for improving opportunity for people in communities most in need. It becomes a complex issue of exactly what low-income or disadvantaged communities need, and that's jobs, a clean environment, and good housing. These are all important, but which needs get traded off against the others? Finally, Harris's support for the Rent Relief Act may imply or simplify incentives. Actually, what they're going to do is it will incentivize landlords to actually raise prices, and that would not be good for many of the people in the community. Then there's the question of the price differences between New York City and Cleveland. While most low-income New York City renters would qualify for the subsidy, Cleveland renters would not. And to drive down the cost of renting, it really would be better policy to encourage an increase in the supply of new rental properties versus subsidizing the price of rent. All right, these policies of addressing unequal pay and providing increased access to healthcare, correcting housing inequality, and dealing with important environmental issues are critical for the long-run health of the economy and society and for minorities. So the changes that Harris proposes are a significant shift from where the current business environment stands after 2 years of the Trump administration. Again, no surprise. Now, getting back to the criticism of her, things are starting to look up, right? Because even her former critics are sounding supportive. One of her fiercest critics, Laura Bazelon, has said this: I don't think there's any interest or oxygen to relitigate it, she said. She's positioned herself over the last couple of years of someone who is really on the right side of these issues, and that carries weight. Okay, to this end, Senator Harris is co-sponsoring a bill with Cory Booker that would ban chokeholds, limit qualified immunity for police officers, and create a national misconduct registry and end uses of no-knock warrants in certain cases. And further rehabbing her profile, she penned a really impressive op-ed on marching, listening, and making change in Cosmo. So investors, businesses, and voters should all be taking notice of her and taking the time to read up on the leading vice presidential candidate. Now, given Biden's age at 77, she may become president. So remember, in 2008, the VP pick was pretty critical when John McCain picked Sarah Palin and the same questions arose. So let's end it there. All right, if you want to get more of these videos as soon as they're released, click subscribe and sign up. If you want to learn more about the 2020 election and policies, please click on the video below, and I'll see you in the next one.